I never meant for any of this to happen. It all started on a foggy Tuesday night, the kind where the streetlights wear little halos and your own breath hangs in front of you like a ghost. I was working the late shift at the campus library, shelving dusty tomes in the forgotten folklore section. That's where I met him, Lysander. He was always there, tucked away in a dimly lit corner, poring over ancient texts with an intensity that felt timeless. He was different. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes held a depth that made you feel like you were staring into a starless night sky. We started talking, small things at first. The weirdest book we'd ever found, the strangest local legends. He had a dry wit and an old world charm that was completely intoxicating. He spoke about history not like he'd read it, but like he'd lived it. He'd casually mention chatting with poets from the 1800s or describe the London fog from centuries ago with eerie accuracy. I just thought he was a quirky history major, a method actor maybe. I was so naive. Our friendship blossomed under the fluorescent lights of the library. We'd grab late-night coffee. Well, I would. He always opted for a dark crimson tea he brought himself, which I thought was just a personal quirk. He'd walk me home, a silent guardian in the shadows, always ensuring I was safe inside before he disappeared into the night. It felt romantic, safe. I started falling for him, for the mystery and the gentle way he looked at me, like I was the most precious thing in the world. Then things started getting weird. My cat, Mittens, who loves everyone, would hiss and hide whenever Lysander was near. I started noticing he never ate food, not once. He'd recoil from the crucifix my grandmother gave me, which I wore every day. He explained it away as an allergy to silver, a distaste for garlic, a sensitivity to sunlight. For every strange occurrence, he had a plausible, charming explanation, and I wanted to believe him. I was so caught up in the romance of it all that I ignored every single red flag waving frantically in my face. The turning point came during the town's annual Founders' Day festival. The whole place was buzzing, filled with lights, music, and people. I convinced Lysander to come, thinking the festive atmosphere would do him good. It was a disaster. He was tense, his eyes darting everywhere, overwhelmed by the crowd. We were near a first aid tent when a kid scraped his knee. The sight, the smell of blood, Lysander froze. A predatory hunger flashed in his eyes, an expression so primal and terrifying it stole the air from my lungs. It was gone in a second, replaced by his usual calm demeanor, but I saw it. I couldn't unsee it. That night, my curiosity finally outweighed my affection. I went back to the folklore section of the library, not to shelve books, but to search for answers. I pulled out the same ancient volumes Lysander was always reading. The pages were filled with accounts of the undead, creatures of the night who fed on the living. The descriptions, the traits, the weaknesses. It all pointed to one impossible conclusion. The allergy to silver, the aversion to sunlight, the crimson tea, the ageless knowledge. It wasn't a quirk. It was a curse. I confronted him the next evening in our usual spot. I laid a book open on the table between us, a detailed illustration of a vampire staring up. I just looked at him, waiting. The charming mask fell away, replaced by a profound sadness. He didn't deny it. He told me everything. He was born in the 17th century, turned against his will, and had spent centuries wandering, watching the world change, losing everyone he ever cared for. He sought solitude in libraries, surrounding himself with the ghosts of history, trying to forget the hunger that was his constant companion. He confessed that he was drawn to me, to my warmth, my life. He said he'd been fighting his instincts every moment we were together, a battle he was terrified of losing. That hunger I saw in his eyes at the festival. He admitted it was real, and it was getting harder to control. He showed me his reflection, or rather, the lack of it, in a small hand mirror I carried. The final, undeniable proof, my romantic fantasy shattered into a million pieces, replaced by cold, hard fear. The man I thought I was falling for wasn't just mysterious. He was a predator, and I was his favorite prey. The friendship, the trust, it was all poisoned. How could I sit across from him, sharing stories and laughter, knowing the monster that lurked just beneath the surface? Late-night walks home no longer felt safe. They felt like a predator escorting its dinner. Every gentle touch felt like a test of his self-control. The romance curdled into terror. I was living in a horror movie, and I was the clueless protagonist who had invited the monster into her life. I told him I couldn't see him anymore. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. The pain in his eyes was genuine, a deep, centuries-old loneliness that was heartbreaking to witness, but my survival instinct finally kicked in. This wasn't a tragic romance novel. This was real. My life was in danger. He didn't argue. He simply nodded, a silent understanding passing between us, and then he was gone. He vanished from the library, from the town, as if he were never there at all. For weeks, I was a wreck. I jumped at every shadow, scrutinized every stranger. I couldn't go into the folklore section without my heart pounding in my chest. The world felt less magical and a lot more dangerous. I was mourning a friendship that was built on a lie, a love that could never be, and the innocence I had lost. I had accidentally befriended a vampire, and while I survived, a part of me was drained, not of blood, but of the simple trust I once had in the world. Sometimes, late at night, when the fog rolls in, I think I see a familiar silhouette standing at the edge of the streetlights, just watching. Maybe it's my imagination, a ghost of the past. Or maybe it's a reminder that some mysteries are best left unexplored, and that when you stare into the abyss, sometimes the abyss stares back. Be careful who you let into your life. You never know what secrets they're hiding in the shadows. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a brush with the unexplainable, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there.